Hey, thanks for joining us. I'm Jason, and this is Pastor Dave, and asking him questions, and he's throwing answers at me. Hey, Dave, I got a question for you. I work in a factory, and it seems like it's very repetitive. It's the same thing day in and day out. And I thank God for my job. I'm so thankful that He's allowed me to have this position, and it provides for my family, but there's still this repetition of my daily grind. If someone was walking in that repetition of the daily grind, and they feel like there's the potential for an open door elsewhere, how would they recognize an open door or even a closed door if they're venturing out, maybe in some giftings or callings they may have in their life, not necessarily wanting to sacrifice the job or the things that the daily grind? Right. Is there an easy way to see an open or closed door?
Easy? I personally don't find it easy. It's my thought life, and the way the Spirit of God speaks to our heart is pretty much through the same kind of channels, through our intellect, and lays thoughts on our mind and desires and all. But it's not an easy thing. I find that what I try to aim for when I try to encourage people is in the area of desire, and that may be kind of maybe some would think of that as, not very spiritual or not very attentive to the things of the Lord, but He says He works in us both to will and to do of His good pleasure in Philippians chapter 2, verse 13. So He places within our hearts His will. Psalms 34 says, those who delight themselves in the Lord, He gives you the desires. And we've always, the desires of your heart, we always kind of think, well, that means He's going to give me whatever I really, really, really want. No, He's talking about He gives you His desires. He plants His desires on your heart as you delight yourself in the Lord. Mm-hmm. So it's in that place of desires I look first, is what is it that the Lord's stirring in your heart? Is there something that perhaps that you could venture into and see if the Lord maybe is leading you towards? If you're talking about finding another job and all, just bathe that in prayer with your wife, or if you have somebody that you can clasp hands and pray and ask the Lord to make it clear. But desire begins to stir, and it's just like a thought that doesn't go away, and you just keep thinking about it. Maybe it's like teaching. You just can't get it out of your mind. You just keep thinking, well, I'd love to have an opportunity. Well, start at home Bible study, and clear it with everybody that would be around you, like if you're part of a church and all, which you should be, and just ask the Lord to prove Himself in that area. So venturing out in desire, I always encourage people through the years is to, on Sunday morning, stand up and look around the room and just to yourself, just ask yourself, what do you think everybody in that room ought to be doing? And generally, that's where your desire is. If you think, why isn't nobody seems to care about the poor on the streets, or nobody seems to care about the people in jail and going into the prison system. It seems like this church doesn't have any outreach, evangelizing. I would say that would be you. God's working in your heart in a particular area. That's called desire. He's leading you now. Follow it. Yeah. And venture into it and see what He says to you and how He leads you in that direction.
And I think that's great advice, to simply pursue the desire. Dave said, be in contact with those around you. Pray, and genuinely see what God has for your life, and then venture out. And if you feel it's a great risk, or there's great things at risk, if you do venture out, then of course stay in contact with those around you and pray. Hey, we thank you for joining us, and if you got any comments, add them to the video.